Welcome to a tag-along discussion. I have with us here Hamzah Ghia from Masjid Hamza. So the masjid is not named after this gentleman right here. He's actually the youth director, and would it be fair to call you imam here? Or no?
Part-time imam.
Part-time imam at Masjid Hamza here in Houston. Now, one of the things that we're doing here is we've been talking to different people about Surah Yusuf and the various themes that are here. One of the amazing things about Hamza here is that he deals a lot with youth and family, and the theme that we're going to be exploring and discussing about is the theme of family and siblings. So, Hamza, one of the things I want to get from you is, now, you're Hafiz of the Quran, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So, just from your own reflections, what have you taken away from the idea of sibling relationships and family relationships from Surah Yusuf in light of your position as an assistant part-time imam and somebody who works with the youth?
It's amazing how it comes down to siblings rivalry.
Okay.
Right? Where, there's a group of brothers who are jealous of Yusuf alayhi salam, which is normal, right?
Yeah.
If you look at my household, my siblings are jealous of me, right? I mean, I'm not very jealous of them, but they're jealous of me.
Are you the eldest?
No, I'm actually the youngest. That's why, right?
Okay.
And you notice in most families where the younger or the elder one usually gets the love. The little one, the middle one is kind of...
Well, the eldest one gets the responsibility. The youngest one gets all the perks.
All the perks, and they get they get to be loved, they get to be spoiled, because the elder ones were like the trial, right? Whatever worked on them. Whatever doesn't work on them. So alhamdulillah, it's amazing though, if you look at the end, the solution, right? And how when Yusuf alayhi salam met his siblings, after everything they did, and all he had to say was, I have nothing against you. And subhanAllah, we think about how many times siblings fight. Not even in our generation, maybe even the elders. You'll see, like brothers won't talk to brothers, or sisters won't talk to sisters, or there's a family fight, or there's family drama. But subhanAllah, at the end of the day, if you realize that family is always family, it's always going to be there.
It's interesting in a lot of stories, and considering that Surah Yusuf it's considered to be among the best of stories as per what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it. But the idea of family, blood, and loyalty is something that's always a recurring theme, even in human stories. I recently saw Black Mass with Johnny Depp, and that was one of the things that they're talking about. Even Johnny Depp's character, and he has a younger brother. Although the two of them, like one's a senator, the other's a gangster, but yet they don't interfere with each other. But at the same time, there's that kind of like unspoken rivalry, sort of, between them. But it's interesting that you mentioned that. Now, do you find, being in the position that you're in professionally, do you find that you have to deal with that a lot and kind of like help out, or like what do you do when there are issues among? I don't think you have to deal with anything where one sibling sells the other sibling off.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I don't have to deal with that, right? But something that I do deal with, and something that's kind of, it's just a relationship between siblings. Siblings is like, if you ask them, do you get advice from your brother, or do you get advice from your sister? It's like, no, we don't even talk. We don't even, we see each other once a week and whatever, but it's, having that relationship with your siblings is super important. Now, if you see that, Yusuf alayhi salam being, one of the good people inside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gave him a whole surah in the Quran.
Right.
One of the lessons that we can take, that when he saw his brothers, he recognized who they were, and he knew that these are my brothers. Even though they hadn't seen each other, when was the last time he saw them? And subhanAllah, it's amazing how, he knew who his blood was.
How old did they say that Yusuf was when the brothers basically abandoned him?
I don't know exactly what the age was, but he was quite young. They went to take him just for fun, quote unquote.
Because one of the thought processes that comes, because it's like an epic, right? He's a little kid, and when he sees him, he's a full-blown adult. So I can understand that, like, his brothers perhaps were adults already.
Yeah.
That's why he recognized them, and the reason that they don't see him. But how does Yusuf recognize his younger brother, Benjamin?
That's just amazing to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, like one of those people who find their lost, loving brother,
long lost
or a
family
sister,
member,
lost like family member. And one of the movies, if you talk about movies, like a Blindside, if you've seen Blindside, they go eat at that restaurant.
Blindside, which
with the football player.
Oh, with Sandra Bullock and okay, yeah.
Yeah, and they go eat at that restaurant, and then he goes in the back and he, gives a random guy a hug.
Yeah.
And when he's asked who that was, he's like, oh yeah, that's my brother. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of amazing to see that, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he puts it in the Quran of how, yes, okay, they had their differences and whatever happened.
Yeah.
Number one is that, subhanAllah, like, they came back together.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we take from the stories or the lessons from Surah Yusuf, is that family is always family. Blood is always blood. It's always, even though we may have differences or disagreements. And something else that's even amazing about this part is after they threw Yusuf alayhi into a well, Allah never talks about, or it never even happened where, his father reprimanded his brothers or anything. It was that respect to family, or that, these are also my children. But he never beat the living out of anybody, or, it wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and subhanAllah, the patience of a father, and, Allah reward and bless all of our fathers, the patience that they have. The mom is the one who always usually yells and screams and tells you to, make your bed and do this and do that. But subhanAllah, the fathers are so patient. And I believe it's their patience that go with, the upbringing of the children, of the youth. And I'm hoping that people can actually study the way that Yusuf alayhi salam's father dealt with the whole situation.
Just dealing with the whole relationship between the father and Yusuf's brothers, so parent-child relationships. One of the things I find interesting is that now, I grew up in New Jersey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and I spent maybe a year and a half as a youth coordinator
mm-hmm.
for the local masjid. And one of the things I found interesting was that the parents, once they see somebody is working with the youth, they're like, "Hey, save my child," right? I'm sure you might all the time, right?
And we want to we have some magic wand or something that we can just come and we can blow some magic on them. But you and I both know.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm just wondering, I've only dealt with it for a little bit of time, but I'm just wondering is that these young individuals are the son of a prophet, right? And they still do what they did. Now, the thing is, some parents might think have I failed? Maybe the parents didn't do what they're supposed to do, or maybe they did. But the question is, do you find yourself consoling the parent, the child, or both? Or you're like, I'm sorry, I can't help you?
I don't usually, alhamdulillah, we try to help anyone we can in any way, right? But at the end of the day, it's what's amazing is that if, like you mentioned, kids always make mistakes.
Yeah.
I still make mistakes, even though I'm old, I'm married, whatever, I work full time. But we all make mistakes. And at the end of the day, the parents also make mistakes too. Obviously not in that situation, and parents always make mistakes too. But it's all about, working with each other, forgiving each other, and obviously, keeping that family as a whole.
Right.
I believe that it's the father's responsibility to, maintain the family, make sure the family is one. There should be that fatherly figure, of course, the friendship, but also that, hey, dad says something, that means dad says something. It doesn't need to be said again.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, it has to come from children as well. That, hey, you're gonna make mistakes, but don't turn around and be disrespectful about it. Be a man to your mistake, basically.
Gotcha.
And I think in this surah, Yusuf alayhi salam and the story of his brothers, they manned up. They understood what they did.
Right.
And at the end, I think they also realized, subhanAllah, we did. Imagine if your brother or your sibling threw you in a well, right? Imagine if they even punch you right now. Imagine you throwing them. But think about it, right? Imagine one of your siblings just punching you.
Right.
Or, and you would hold that grudge for how long? But this is something that's, you just separated them from their parents. You made them go through slavery, through prison. SubhanAllah, what did he go through in that time?
Right.
Right? And at the end, when he saw them, it wasn't like, oh yeah, let me think about this,
Yeah.
Let me tease them a little bit.
Remember what you guys did?
Yeah. Not even you remember what you guys did. I was like, let me tell you what you guys did. He had the authority, he had the power.
Right.
But at the end, he just, subhanAllah, that part right there, it's just amazing. It's so amazing that if you look further at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, he even says, when he conquered Mecca, he says, I tell you what Yusuf alayhi salam said to his brother. He uses that same example.
Okay. I was just going to think right now, what would be the relationship between, because the Prophet, he himself did not have any siblings, so to speak. So what would have been the relationship that he could take away from that? The fact you just said that when he went back to Mecca, it's his tribes people, it's his family. So, essentially, they are his family.
It's his family.
Yeah.
And the crazy, obviously, the Messenger of Allah, mercy to mankind.
Yeah.
Even the people who weren't his family or from his tribe, right? But the example that, like you said, this story was one of the best stories.
Yeah.
That he's using a piece of this story in his khutbah, in his lecture, addressing the people. You know how we quote today, we'll quote like Malcolm X, or we'll quote Michael Jordan, or movies like we've been doing, or Hakeem Olajuwon, or famous people will quote. But imagine, the Messenger of Allah, Rahmatul Alameen, he could have quoted anybody, but he's quoting Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. SubhanAllah. It's amazing. It's mind blowing if you think about it.
Well, guys, there you have it. This is just an exploration of the theme of family relationships from Surah Yusuf. If you guys are ever in Houston and you see this gentleman, Hamzah Ghia at Masjid Hamza in Houston, don't be shy. Say hi. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.